Hey, you're right. Over the past few lessons, we've looked at a few different sorts of equations. So, a couple of lessons ago, we looked at equations with fractions in 7c. Then we looked at equations with pronumerals or letters on both sides in 7d. But now we're looking at 7e, and that is equations with brackets. You may have seen some of these in some of the worksheets you've been doing. So you may have had a bit of an attempt at them so far, but I'm going to show you how to do them hopefully pretty clearly in this video right now. Okay, now one of the main things or the main skills that we're going to have to do when we solve these sort of equations is expanding brackets. So I've got a few examples here that can hopefully show us how to do that. Alright, so let's look at A to start with, and we've been asked to just expand the following. So we've been asked to expand the brackets. Now with this question here, you notice that we have a 2 at the front and we have a set of brackets here with a couple of different things inside it. Now you might remember that in this spot here there's a little invisible times. Now this 2, it's timesing both of the things inside here, so we need to do 2 times the x. I'll do a little arrow there to show that, and we need to do 2 times the 3 as well, so I'll do another little arrow there. So they're both times. Now what you might notice with this one is it's not an equation, but that's okay. We're going to keep going a little bit later to show some equations. We're just showing how to expand the brackets now. Okay, so firstly we need to do 2 times x, and that's going to give us 2x. And then the next thing we need to do is 2 times 3, and 2 times 3 is 6, so it's going to be plus 6. And that's all we need to do to expand those brackets. Let's do another example just here. Now remember, with this 3 out the front, there's an invisible little times there, so this 3 is going to be timesing that 3x, and it's also going to be timesing that minus 1. Now if you need to, if it helps you, feel free to draw those little arrows to show that you need that 3 to times the 3x, but also the minus 1. We can put our little times there so we remember that's the operation that we're using. Okay, so we need to take our 3 and do times 3x. So 3 times 3x is going to become, actually let me just write that whole thing there. So 3 times 3x. But we also need to do 3, it'll be plus 3, times minus 1. Now I've shown a little step in between here. You don't necessarily have to write this stuff, but it might help some of you. So what we need to do now is work out what we've got from here. So 3 times 3x will give us 9x, and 3 times minus 1 will give us minus 3. And we've expanded the brackets again. Okay, those two didn't really involve equations because we didn't have an equals in them, but these two here will. Okay, so we're going to try to, let's do D first. I should have made this one number C. This one's a bit easier. You'll notice that this one has an equals in there. Okay, but we're going to do the same thing as we did before to kind of start us off. So remember, there's a little invisible times there, so it's going to be 4 times 2 and 4 times x. Alright, so let's expand this side. So 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times x is 4x, so plus 4x. And that all equals 16. See how this is the sort of thing we've been working on before? So what we'd like to do now is make it so we just have x by itself. So I want to get rid of this 8. Now that's a plus 8, so we want a minus 8. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other side also. Okay, so this plus 8 and minus 8 will turn into 0. That means we only have 4x on this side. 16 minus 8 is 8. Alright, now we want to get rid of this 4 here. So that's 4 times, the opposite is divided by 4. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other side too. So these two 4's are going to cancel out. So on this side it's just going to be x. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we've just solved our equation. We've found out that x equals 2. Alright, let's do this next one. Now this one, we need to do a couple of things. So we have to do, one, expanding brackets. But can you also see that we have pronumerals or letters on both sides? So this one, we sort of need to think back to what we've done previously as well. But firstly, let's just expand these brackets. So there's an invisible times here. You don't have to write it if you don't want to. This -2 is going to be timesing that, and it's also going to be timesing that 6 in there too. Alright, so -2 times 4x will give us -8x. -2 times 6 will be -12. And that equals whatever we have on the other side, so -10x. Cool. Now, you see how we've got those letters on both sides? We don't like that. We only want them on one side. So I want to keep my letter on this side because I feel a little bit more organized like that. Alright, so let's move it from here. So there's -10x, but I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to say plus 10x because it's the opposite. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side as well. So plus 10x. Okay, now if we have -8x and we plus 10x, that should give us 2x. Don't forget about our -12. And if we have -10x and we add 10x, that gives us 0. So we have nothing on that side. Now we want to get everything away from the x so we can work out what it equals. So I'm going to have a look at this -12. The opposite is +12. We have to do that to the other side too. So that's going to leave us with 2x. -12 and +12 is 0, so that's gone. 0 plus 12 is 12. Okay, we're almost done. We want to get rid of the 2. That's times 2, so we want to divide by 2 on both sides. We always need to remember. So they're going to cancel out, and we have x equals 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that's our answer right there. Okay, so that's how we solve equations that involve brackets.